This is Football 401k.
Broadcasting on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now your hosts, Bo Repka and RJ Choppy.
Welcome to episode 3 of season 4 of the Football 401k. I am RJ Choppy of 105.3 The Fan. He is Bo Repka from the Football Glory Hole. We have a great show in store for you today. We are going to look at how the differences between week 1 and week 2 in the NFL season really have taken shape. We're going to upgrade and downgrade some teams. We're going to do a look ahead, see how the lines have moved between week 1 and week 2 in terms of where they were when training camps opened. That's big. That's what, the offseason lines. I mean, those are some of the ones that you're going to get where they're at their most truest form. And then you have some over and under reactions of teams getting valued. And then, of course, at the end, as we always do, Bo, the best bets, the Pizza Money Parlay, the college games of the week. So why don't we just start off where we have upgraded and downgraded some teams after week 1? Do you want to go in reverse alphabetical order with the upgrades first? How do you want to do it?
Sure. Reverse alphabetical order works.
Yeah. All right. So taking a look at the 4 or so teams that we have upgraded between where we were at the start of the year and where we are now looking after week 1.
Yeah, so first team up is Arizona. Their slight upgrade from where they were going into last week. That was a very impressive performance they held in Tennessee. But impressive to us, and probably the numbers for a different reason than people. Of course, the public's going to go crazy about Kyler and him making all the plays, and he looks spectacular. But I'm old enough to remember, about week 7 or 8 last year, Choppy, where he was the second odds-on favorite to win the MVP. And, they kind of faded down the stretch, as Coach Bro in Arizona does tend to do. He did that in Texas Tech. He's done it so far in Arizona. So that's not the reason why they upgrade. I think we know what Kyler is by now. He's a pretty good player. The slight upgrade is because last year, Choppy, their defense was 10th overall in DVOA. So they had a really good defense in Arizona. But to come out and do that week 1, and, you and I have talked about it many, many times, defense does not always carry over, at least not to the level where it might have been the year before. You might have went from great to good or from good to great. It can go either way. But for them to go on the road and dominate a Tennessee team that finished 3rd last year overall DVOA and offense, and quite frankly, quarterback in Tannehill has been top 5 in EPA plus CPOE the last 2 years, really under the radar kind of guy. That is really what upgraded him the numbers. That's really where we're at in Arizona. So it was really a heck of a start for them. Come out on the road and just totally dominate both sides of the ball. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it really was. And I thought, like, going into the year, I was lukewarm on Arizona. I didn't know what to think. Coach Bro is what he is, right? But I've always been a Kyler guy, but I didn't really know what to think. I mean, they shouldn't have beat Buffalo last year. And they were right there at the end trying to make a postseason run, and they fell short. They lose Chicago on that final day.
Yeah.
So, if you can't beat Chicago to make the postseason, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why we're not going to go crazy. The numbers are going to upgrade them, but here's the other thing that makes it most impressive personally to me, because I get to see the numbers behind the scenes. Overall, our power rankings pick every game, right? We don't bet out every game, obviously, but there was 3 games this last week that were a 0 delta, and this was one of them, which means the numbers were right on, or the spread was right on where we thought it was supposed to be. Our numbers went 8-5 in 13 gradable games against the spread. So our numbers were pretty good. They were pretty accurate rolling in. So for them to outperform this badly against our numbers, that's pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive. Okay, let's go to the next team. Let's go to Denver. This is fascinating because, they didn't really play a great team. They played the Giants, and the Giants are not anything that's special. I don't think the Giants are going to be very good. But when you win a game, and Teddy Bridgewater is a veteran quarterback. He's not some kid, so we know a lot about him. At least we think we do. But I also think that he's not as good as he could have been had he not had that injury. Where are we with Denver?
Yeah, Denver does get a pretty good upgrade from the numbers on this one. This was actually our worst loss of the week. It was one of our 2 losses in the Super Contest. We did have the Giants +3. And, if Danny Dimes doesn't cough that ball up in the red zone, maybe, they were going in to get in the cover right there. It was still kind of early in the second half or fourth quarter. So, maybe who knows what happens if he doesn't, if they score the touchdown. That's how football goes, or football go, as Ron Washington would say. But it did happen. And from then they just couldn't recover, and Denver completely dominated the game from that point forward. That's the reason for the upgrade. It's not because they beat a Giants team that's not going to be very good and not going to make the postseason. Obviously, Denver probably isn't going to make the postseason either, though, for being honest. And for two teams in that kind of below average caliber, which is what they are, they went on the road. They dominated the performance statistically for sure. So that's the reason why they do get the upgrade from the numbers. I'm not going to go crazy about it. Teddy Bridgewater is what he is. We all know who Teddy Two Gloves is. So I think at the end of the day, they're going to be right around that over under 8.5 mark that they started out in Vegas. We'll see where they end up, but they'll probably be, 7-10, somewhere around in there.
Okay. All right. How about the Bengals? The Bengals win an overtime game over the Vikings. And Jamar Chase actually was able to catch a ball without stripes on it. I thought this was kind of fantastic for him. And all joking aside, I felt really happy for him. He was a fantastic college player. You don't just forget how to catch a ball. Something was going on there. And I feel really, really happy that he was able to put this, put that preseason behind him and play well. But are we upgrading Cincinnati? And if so, how much?
Not very much. We are upgrading Cincinnati. The numbers are upgrading Cincinnati. Not a huge upgrade here, but if you think about the way that game went, it took a pretty good effort for Minnesota to come back in that game. Cincinnati was dominating the game for most of the game, but Minnesota was able to come back on it. Now, Cincinnati did win at the end, but if you look at the overall statistics and the efficiency of the statistics, that's what's going to upgrade Cincinnati here. As far as the numbers going in, the game was split for us. It was a no play. So it could have went either way as far as the numbers set. And at the end of the day, it could have went either way, right? They won overtime and a field goal. So the game did what it was supposed to do. That's not why Cincy gets the upgrade. Cincy gets the upgrade simply because they were so much more efficient than the numbers had them projected going in. Again, not a good football team, not going to be a good football team, nothing to go crazy about, but good opening win for them for sure.
All right, very good. And then finally, the Chargers. How do you judge a team that wins a game when the other team's quarterback kind of gets banged up?
Yeah, the reason why the Chargers are getting this is actually the most impressive victory to me of the entire weekend, and to, quite frankly, a lot of our brethren in the Sharp community, because Washington was the most played team in the Super Contest. So a lot of people, our constituents that are in that Super Contest in Vegas, a lot of us were on Washington, and, the Chargers went in there and they won the football game. Now, there was a moment where, the Washington football team got a turnover in the red zone, got the ball back, killed the momentum Chargers had. They also had the lead, but then Gibson coughs it up at like their own 5-yard line of the next play. That turned the game, and that's where the Chargers went on to win. So the game itself could have went either way. But again, from a statistics standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, the Chargers were so much better than the football team. It's not even close. And if you just watched the game, that great defensive line for Washington, and it is a great defensive line, they barely even sniffed, Justin Herbert the entire game. And he was able to just sit back there and throw them, and he was pretty good. Like, he wasn't the best we've ever seen Justin Herbert, but he was pretty good for his first real road game. Really, really impressed with the Chargers. And I, like I said, a lot of our constituents in Vegas were really impressed with them too.
Man, Rashawn Slater did not allow Chase Young to get near the quarterback. And, he was there.
And,
he was there.
Derwin James. Oh, you're talking about for the Cowboys.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, I think tackle is probably more valuable than linebacker. I mean, I'm not a scout or a personnel guy, but you
don't need to be. I play one on the radio. You don't need to be, man. Just make it up as you go along. That's kind of what I do.
Well, I'll tell you, somebody who's not making it up is Derwin James. That dude hasn't played football in 2 years after a rookie year where he was the first team All-Pro as a rookie. Yeah, he was the number 1 rated safety in all of football after week 1 by PFF. That dude looks like he hasn't missed a single beat, and he is a true game changer in the back end of that Chargers defense. If that guy's healthy, and I'll just say this right now, my partner James over the Football Glory Hole, he picked the Chargers to win this division preseason.
Wow, good for him.
Kind of shocking, yeah. And that's how much faith he has in this team and this roster. I think he's a little bit out of his mind, but you know what? If they can protect Herbert like that, and James stays healthy all year, they got a puncher's chance. I'll say that.
Yeah, they absolutely do. All right, let's go into some downgrades. One of these teams I am forever disappointed in. One of them, I think, just had a bad week. Well, two of them, I think, had a bad week.
Yeah.
And then there's two others on this list that I one of them I wonder about regression, and the other one I just, they've been good for so long.
Yeah.
Let's just start about the first one. Listen, I will never understand how a team that has so many weapons can never win. And that's Atlanta. They since the Super Bowl, they cannot figure out a way to get out of their own way.
Right.
They're still hungover from that game. Trade Matt, please trade Matt Ryan to a place where he might have a chance again.
Yeah, if you could get anybody to take him at this point, that's the problem with that one. Now, this game was a 0 delta in our power ranking. So, and I know everybody's going to go crazy, nuts over Philly, but Atlanta was already our best bet in the South in the preseason to go under the 7.5. They're not a very good football team. They're not going to be a very good football team. So Philly beat not a very good football team. But again, Philly's not a very good football team either, or we don't think they're going to be. And they were 0-point delta. So they did way, way outperform expectations. This is why Atlanta gets the downgrade now. And they performed worse. I mean, I don't know how any amount of data could predict that Philly was going to perform over expectations that way. They could win the game, but that was just a whipping. Now, your boy Matt Ryan, Choppy, speaking of that, has gotten progressively worse over the last few years. You and I have talked about it. In 2019, he was 14th EPA plus CPOE. That's just above league average. Last year, he was 19th, so just below league average, just below a rookie and Joe Burrow on a terrible team. And then Sunday, he threw for 164 yards on 35 attempts. So I know he's still capable of having great games here and there. I know it's in there. I know because he's been a great player.
His QBR is still, it's got a really high floor to it. He doesn't have his ceiling anymore, though. His ceiling's gone.
Yeah, and those great performances are becoming less and less frequent. And again, Atlanta's just not going to be a very good football team, but that was even worse than, I don't see how you could thought they were going to be that bad at home to open the season versus, again, a team that's not going to be very good in Philly either. So that was pretty disappointing.
All right, how about Green Bay? Was that just a blip? How are we going to judge Green Bay after this one?
So just because the numbers were so bad, they have to be downgraded slightly. Now, I'm not going to go nuts over it. It was one game, just like Aaron Rodgers said. And quite frankly, nobody smiles more than me probably of Aaron Rodgers struggling, because I really don't care for that dude much at all. He's a great quarterback, one of the greatest of all time, but he's kind of a D-bag. So kind of makes me happy when he struggles, but I think there's no way that they don't win this division. I don't think there's any way they don't win double digits games. I don't think there's any way they're not there in the end, some sort of a player. The only way that's even possible is if Rodgers is truly just checked out and is just collecting a paycheck. I can't see. I mean, even the kind of dude he is, I can't even say he would do that, or any professional athlete would really do that. So he's an easy guy to hate. It was a lot of fun to watch them get whipped, but I think at the end of the day, slight downgrade because, again, I heard once that he could have spiked the ball on every snap, and he would have had a better QBR. Like, you're going to get downgraded from the data when you do something that bad.
You are. I still think they're going to win the division, although the fighting Dan Campbells are in first place at 0-1.
Yes, they are.
Because everybody's in first place in that division. I think he's the first Lions coach to ever be in first place after his first game in the history of that team.
Wow.
And he did it by losing the game. They're gonna. I mean, I might take Green Bay this week with the points over Detroit. Detroit's not a very good team, even though my boy was slinging it all over the field.
After he was down by 30 points, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't believe in garbage time. Analytics say there's no such thing as garbage time. But yeah, he was slanging it, man. I couldn't even name you one receiver.
No.
How about Tennessee?
No,
that team is so bad.
they're so bad.
But they fight. I'll give them that. They fight. They fought for Dan. I give them credit on that one. How about Tennessee?
Yeah, this is again more of a data downgrade. I still think they're a good football team.
Yeah.
They have holes obviously defensively, but you knew that going in. So it's nothing that we didn't expect.
Right.
I think the lack of the offensive efficiency and firepower, that was the shocker to me. And I think that was probably the shocker to anybody that had Tennessee. Now, we didn't have it. Like I said, it was a zero play for us. But if you were back in Tennessee, I mean, I could have made an argument either way. And if you were back in Tennessee, your argument was going to be the perpetual underratement of a Ryan Tannehill and that offense. But, man, they looked really, really poor in that game.
Yeah.
So that was a big shocker.
It was. Now, who are we going to downgrade more between Buffalo and Baltimore?
I mean, we were on Pittsburgh. We had Pittsburgh and we had Vegas on the spread. So the data told us to take Pittsburgh and Vegas. So it's not a shock to us that either team covered. But it is a shock that they both lost, that those teams, both the underdogs we took, both won. I saw Pittsburgh maybe winning, maybe if Ben could play, which Ben wasn't good at all. But they did win the game because that defense just Allen, he looked like 2 years ago, Josh Allen, in that game. That's one game, but he looked really, really bad. The Vegas thing, I didn't see them winning. I thought they would keep it close just because if Baltimore can't do what they normally do and be efficient in the running game, it's hard for them to sustain leads, of any kind of margin. They'll win football games because, Lamar has a knack of making plays. When the moment's big, I mean, you saw him, the one he had his only real pass he completed all game was in crunch time. It was the bomb right to put him ahead, so he just has that knack he knows how to win football games, close ones. And I thought it was going to be a close game, and it was a close game. But between the two, the data did downgrade Buffalo more just because their offense was less efficient than projected. Baltimore pretty much did what Baltimore was going to do. You didn't really see anything out of them that they're not normally going to do. It's just Vegas made a few more plays and they won the football game. That's pretty much what it came down to.
All right, so there's the upgrades and the downgrades after week one. We love to overreact. Overreaction Monday is one of my favorite days of the year, and now it's turned into late week one, between week one and week two, overreactions, and that's what we just did here on the football 401k look ahead lines. We got the best bets, we got some college picks, we got our pizza money parlay. That's all coming up on the football 401k.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to Football 401k.
RJ Choppy and Bo Repka with you on the Football 401k. We have our best bets still to get to. Today, we also have our Pizza Money Parlay and the little bit of overreactioning, as we will, to week one. But let's take a look at the look-aheads. How did we view some of these lines in training camp before the season started versus how they are now after the first week of the season, Bo?
Yeah, we got a few that have moved quite a bit, Shop. And if you think that that's way too early, like the training camp lines, I'll just say this. Other than the ones I'm about to mention, every other single one is within 1 point or less of still where that line was. So I promise you, those lines are pretty accurate for the most part. So this is really where you get the value on what moves the most. And it's mostly, unless it's an injury, right, to a starting quarterback, which we really haven't had anything significant so far this year, thankfully. It's mostly just what the public's seen and where the market's going. So first up, Denver's now a 6-point favorite in Jacksonville. They were a 1.5 point favorite when this line first opened. That's 4.5 points worth of movement off of one game. Huge market swing here. I'm not really sure it's justified, Choppy. And, we did say last week that Houston was going to win their only football game of the year versus Jacksonville right here on this program. No, we're not from the future. I've gotten that asked to me a few times. Also, I don't know when the Cowboys are going to win their Super Bowl next or when the McRib is coming back.
No.
But we are pretty good at predicting football games, and this market it's out of line. Now, I've got a huge trend to illustrate all this and pull it all together when we get done. That's line number one that has moved a ton. Number two, the Rams are now -4 in Indy. This was Indy -1.5. Now, that was before all the injuries, Wentz injury stuff, but we've seen him play a game now. So it's still 5.5 points of movement. That is huge upgrade, downgrade on Rams, Indy. That is a big, big move. Tampa Bay now hosting Atlanta -13. They were -9.5. So it got to 4.5 points worse than 9.5. Again, I think this downgrade is almost all on Atlanta's part.
Yeah.
I will say, though, well, I'll say on the sharper side of things, Tampa should have covered. Now, I ended up betting with you, Choppy. You liked the Cows last week, plus the 9 points, and it got to 9.5. I texted that night. I was like, yeah, I'm with you. This is silly. I'm going with the Cowboys. Let's go. But
yeah, I mean, here's my thinking. People will. We are all guilty of recency bias. Right. And people were just going to overrate the Tampa run. They were not world beaters last year during the regular season. They were good, but they weren't world beaters. And the other thing is that, teams that throw the ball well typically don't lose NFL games by more than 7 or 8 points. So I thought the play was the Cowboys. Right. I thought it should have been 4 or 5.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you were right. The only thing I'll add to that is on the sharper side of it, why Tampa Bay might be getting a slight market upgrade here is, and the Bobby Belt put this great stat out, Tampa was the first team to ever lose a game where they had a -3 turnover differential, 100 yards of penalties, and give up over 400 yards on defense. And they still won. Which,
they're good, man.
On the sharper side, that tells you they're a really good football team, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of, people can say, well, if it wasn't for the offensive PI, it wasn't for the missed field goals. Yeah, you got to get fortunate to win a game in a way that nobody's ever won a game. You got to get a little bit lucky, but you have to be really good to be in position to win a game when everything goes that wrong. That's the main thing. So that's the side that nobody's really looking at it from, is the side that you do have to be good just to be in position to take advantage of a few breaks, which they absolutely did get. So I think it's a little bit of both, mostly downgrade Atlanta there though. Seattle, they're now -5.5 hosting Tennessee. This line was 3.5. That's 2 points worth of movement, maybe a little bit more than some people would expect here. And Choppy, I just wanted to ask you, you're a big Russell Wilson guy, and so am I. But why do you think that Russ plays so well because I talked about Kyler earlier being second in MVP odds in Vegas. Russ was the number one odds-on favorite to win the MVP for the first 8-9 weeks last season. It seems like he does this every year, but then he fades. Why do you think the reason for that is?
That's a good question. I don't know, because, he doesn't have small hands, so it's not a cold weather thing where you can't grip the football. Like Jared Goff's got smaller hands. He's 6'5",
Right.
so it's not tiny hands, but smaller. I really don't know what the reasoning is. I can't figure it out. But he was in line for an MVP last year. And then, they let Russ cook and he burnt the damn meal. It was wild.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good theory on it either. I mean, just if you correlate those two together, maybe they're both smaller guys and all the running around and all the things they have to do to be successful or just not just the way they play the game, I guess. Maybe it takes a toll on them after 8 or 9 weeks. I don't know. Because for either one of those guys to even be playing the NFL is insane. That just tells you what great athletes they are and how good they have to be at play quarterback at that size to even be in the league is nuts. And to be as successful as Russell Wilson's been is a different level of nuts. So I don't know the reason either. I can't put my finger on it. I mean, the dude, at any given Sunday, he could look like the best quarterback you've ever seen in your life. So I don't know.
Underrated movie, by the way.
What's that?
Any Given Sunday.
Oh, was that the one where
Al Pacino, man? It was Al Pacino and the Steamin' Willie Beeman.
Oh, Steamin' Willie Beeman has the ladies. I won't finish that. But anyway, Cameron Diaz was hot in that movie. She was pretty hot.
She was.
Kansas City, now a 3.5-point favorite in Baltimore. This game was a pick 'em. This is 3.5 points worth of movement. And Choppy, I thought Baltimore slightly got downgraded. Vegas is telling us that they got hugely downgraded because there's no way you can upgrade Kansas City 3.5 points after not covering again against the Browns. It has to be a huge downgrade on Baltimore, man. I'm struggling to see a big downgrade, but the market says it is. So this is another one of those games that I don't know about. And then the last one.
Yeah, that is interesting because this can't be Kansas City upgrade. It's got to be Baltimore downgraded. I would imagine you're right on Tampa Bay, Atlanta. It's more Atlanta being downgraded. It's probably Indy being downgraded in the Rams situation. And the Rams being upgraded too.
Yeah, that's a big upgrade.
And then Denver, Jacksonville. That's got to be all Jacksonville. Denver won, I know, but it was
Yeah.
Actually, no, you're right. It's why I love Denver too.
The only other thing I think on the KC Baltimore thing is Kansas City become the new Dallas, and by that I mean the Cowboys historically get a lot of love in the betting marketplace in Vegas.
Yeah.
Now the last couple of years, Choppy, we haven't seen as much of that. They've been pretty. We haven't bet on the Cowboys for or against a lot the last couple of years.
No, you're right.
There just hasn't been any value.
No,
which is very strange. Like I said, historically, but Kansas City now, they tend to get overinflated every single week, and they were not successful last year against the spread, which happens when you get a little too much love in the marketplace. Are they the team that are pretty easy fade every Sunday? Not that they're going to lose a lot of football games, but if you don't cover, that's a chance for you to make money against teams that aren't going to cover. So I thought about that too. And then the last one, Green Bay is 10.5 points. This line was 7.5. So that's a 3 full points for a team that got blown out versus another team that, in all reality, Detroit got blown out, but they did come back to bad. Man, if you had San Fran -9, that's a bad beat. And I feel bad for you. Woo, man. But Vegas is telling you right there, 3-point movement. Do not sell your Packer stock just yet, which is what you and I said earlier. So I think we're right in line with what Vegas is expecting there, but that's still a huge piece of movement there on that Green Bay game.
Well, would you touch that game?
Well, I'm about to give you a trend that might make you think about it. Normally I wouldn't, but this is the trend that's going to tie all this together. So since 2014, and this is a sample size of 49 games, so quite a few games. 60.4% of teams that lost by double digits in week 1 go on to cover the spread in week 2.
How many percent?
60.4.
60%.
6 out of every 10.
60%. So say it again.
Since 2014, 60.4% of teams that lost by double digits in week 1 go on to cover the spread in week 2. And 47% of those same teams win the game straight up in week 2. So 6 out of every 10 cover, about 5 out of every 10 win the next week. Now, there are 7 teams that qualify for that this week. You've got Atlanta, you got Tennessee, you got Indy, you got Jacksonville, Green Bay, Chicago, and the Giants. So historically, what that means is 4 out of those 7 should cover, and 3 of them basically should win straight up. 3, that'd be 3.5, but either 3 or 4. So 4 should cover, 3 should win, just on average. So if you pair that trend with the games that I just mentioned, the biggest market movements, you have Atlanta getting moved on pretty heavy. You have Tennessee getting moved on heavy. You have Jacksonville, and you got Green Bay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 huge movements. 4 teams, remember, that 7 are going to cover. So you start to see how it all kind of comes together and why a trend becomes a trend. If it's a legit trend, which, Choppy, most trends are not legitimate. They're, random, coincidental, they come and go through sample size. But when you get underlying data that correlates, and it's a good sample size, which again, this is 49 games since 2014, really good sample size, it starts to paint a sharper picture of why trends become and trends start to form. Because historically, like we said last week, like we're saying again this week, those teams, the first public impression, they get blown out. Guess what? They get undervalued the next week against the spread, and then they end up covering 60% of the time the next week. So if you just bet all 7 of those teams blindly this week, you're probably going 4-3. You're going to walk away with some cash, right?
Yeah.
But again, if you want to sharpen it up even more, the 5 I just mentioned of the 7, probably your bigger chances to cover out of the 7, because the market has moved so much against them, which creates that delta, which gives you the maximum value. So that's how it all kind of comes together when you talk about such underlying data and a great trend like that. So I'm pretty excited about this week, Choppy.
That's great stuff, man. I love that little trend right there. Okay, so again, since 2014, 49 games, 60% of teams that lose by 10 or more go on to cover the spread in week 2. And 47% of those teams win straight up. Awesome, awesome stuff. This is the Football 401k. We still got to get our bets in. We got to give you our betting card for the week. We got to give you a pizza money parlay. Make you money off $10. We're going to do that next on the Football 401k. RJ Choppy Bo Repka, Football 401k. It is time to make some picks. Let's do it. How about some best bets in the National Football League before we get into college and our pizza money parlay?
Yeah, so National Football League. So a little exciting announcement this week. We're going to start posting a picture of our actual ticket for the Westgate Super Contest on our Twitter account before the noon kickoff. That's at FGH Vegas, Sunday morning before noon kicks. Now, here's a disclaimer, though, on that. The lines in this contest are stale. In other words, when we get the original lines, that's the lines that we pick off of. Sometimes it goes for us, sometimes it goes against us. We have to make decisions based on that. A good example is last week, we selected San Francisco plus 7.5. Now, we obviously covered. We didn't get the bad end of the bad beat, but if you would have taken that Sunday when I posted it, you would have got it 9 or 9.5. You would have got beat on that. So just remember when you're looking at this, if you can't get the better end of the number, please don't take the pick. Numbers matter a lot, especially in NFL. Every little single number matters. Maybe not so much in college. It does. You always want the better number, but in NFL, it is paramount. So in another example, that was Carolina, who we given out to our clients on a real live pick. They were -4. We didn't take them in the contest because they were -5 in the contest. So that's an example of a stale line moving against us, right? We wanted to take Carolina, but we're not going to take the worst number when there's a better number out there. So again, if we would have taken Carolina, we'd have been 2-1 instead of 3-2 in the contest. So you can just see how much numbers matter, even if it's not a key number, 3-7, 4-5. That would have cost us a win, right? So you just don't play numbers if they're not your best. If it's not the best number available,
right?
Then you know what? Just say, hey, I like this team, but I like this number. I'm going to pass. No big deal. There's the one advantage the books have on you is that -110, right?
Yeah.
But they can't make you play every game. So
No.
You don't have to play every game. That's the advantage that you have as a player. You play what you want to play.
Exactly right. Hey, before we get into the college games, Cowboys are a 3-point dog. At least they were against the Chargers. How do you see that? How does the model see that game?
This is a split game for us on this one. It was a split game last week against Tampa Bay. And I think the reason why wherever the whole other world was on Tampa Bay is because we were never that down on the Cowboys in our initial preseason rankings. And because I just didn't believe that Dak wasn't going to be at least effective. Obviously, he was more than effective. He threw for 400 yards, whatever he did. I know Pro Football Focus didn't grade him as high as they normally do. But you know what? One game was one game, and he still, he almost won a football game. So
yeah, I wonder why they downgraded him a little bit because he only got like a 78, which still very good.
Yeah,
but it's not in the elite category.
You're way more versed in the PFF grades than I am. That's for sure. That's not really something I follow a lot of, but I do pay attention just to kind of see if my eyes are matching, what their eyes are matching, just to make sure that I'm not seeing any kind of fool's gold or that I'm not being too critical in certain situations as well. It kind of keeps bias from, kind of creeping in at all. So that's the reason why I like PFF is I don't think they have any bias. But I mean, to me, again, that was the most impressive win was the Chargers, but the Cowboys might have been the most impressive cover, of the entire weekend. So I don't think that, it's a slight upgrade. The Chargers, the numbers didn't upgrade the Cowboys at all, just because, they were helped out by all the turnovers and they weren't really that efficient, especially on defense. They were pretty putrid actually. But the line was 2.5, and the same lines that we gave you guys at the beginning or in the one segment, it was -2.5 before training camp. It's -3. You're talking about half a point. That half a point could be it for home field advantage at this point because now Vegas knows it is going to be full crowds. They're nuts. People are going crazy. That could just simply be from having a full stadium where Vegas didn't maybe know for sure before. That half point could be nothing to do about the game at all. So I think it's one of those games. If you liked the Chargers before Sunday, then you still should like them. If you like the Cowboys before Sunday, then you still should like them. And I don't think either performance week one should alter your thinking at all in this game.
All right, let's take a look at some college games then. Army against UConn. Army is laying 33, man. UConn is creeping up into Kansas territory where you can't make the line big enough.
Oh, they have surpassed our good Jayhawks in Kansas, Choppy. Since 2015, UConn is the worst ATS team in FBS with a cover rate of 33% against the spread covering. Now, so far this year, they've played 2 FBS teams. They're 0-2, despite being a dog, 0-2 ATS, despite being a dog of 27.5 and 35. And if that wasn't bad enough, they haven't scored a point yet, Choppy, against an FBS team. Not 1 point. So that is about as bad as it gets. And Army is what Army is. They're going to run the ball. They're going to be machines. They're going to continue to just do what they do. The only way I see Army not covering this game is if they, have a rash of turnovers.
Yeah.
But Army's only turned the ball over once in 2 games. UConn's only taken the ball away once in 2 games. So even as big as this line is, just like you said about Kansas, man, it's just not big enough. And this line should be about 40. And Army can run up a score without trying to run up the score. Because once that triple option gets rolling and your boys really don't have any, affinity to play the game anymore, they're not going to stop running over you. So they're just going to keep coming. Now, and they don't throw the ball, so it's very low variance in their game plan. I like laying 33 with a low variance team against an absolutely horrible FBS team.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, how about Kansas State +2 against Nevada? The K-State's got a quarterback issue, right?
They do. Their starting quarterback is out. So this is strictly a value play. I think that we are on the sharper side of this. A lot of people have already agreed with me in Vegas on that because when the announcement it was pretty much factored when the line was made. Kansas was +3, and it got bought down almost immediately to +2. I think that the quarterback in this situation is getting a little bit overvalued. I've seen some projections out there around 4.5 to 5 points he's worth. I don't know that he's worth that much in this offense. They're a running football team. That's what they do. They were 10th best in the country, YPA, last year rushing the ball. Nevada doesn't stop the run. They were 109th last year, YPA defense and against the rushing. Now, Nevada does have a really good quarterback that throws the ball really well. That's Carson Strong. Carson Strong. I think that's his name. I apologize to the young man if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. And he looks really good so far this year. But they played one FBS school. They played Cal in Cal. They did go win that game as a road dog. K-State's played only one FBA school. They hosted Stanford, and they beat them pretty soundly. And Stanford just went and ended Clay Helton's career at USC.
Yeah.
Now, every Saturday is a new Saturday. Nothing really translates. However, it looks a lot more quality of win now that Stanford went and did what they did to USC. So, Stanford's able to play a good football game, and K-State handled them pretty handily. So I think overall, we're just getting too much value on that starting quarterback. I do like K-State in this game. I like them to win the game anyway, just because sometimes styles make fights. And I think the style of this game is going to favor Kansas City. And Choppy, that Manhattan is a crazy, crazy place to go to on Saturdays to play football. And K-State in the since 2015, same time period, 13-6 ATS as a home dog. That's 68.4% of the time they cover when you come into Manhattan and you're supposed to be the big bad favorite.
Yeah,
we really like the Wildcats here.
Yeah, that's a great stat. I like that as well. Although I do think Nevada's not a bad team.
No, they're good. They're a good team. I just don't know how good they are, and I think we're just putting too much onus on that quarterback position from K-State. I mean, yeah, he's good, but he's not like it's not like he's a top 5 quarterback in the country. So let's not go crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, finally, Pizza Money Parlay. We have got Army minus the 33. We have Kansas State on the money line, slight favorite there, or slight dog, I should say.
Slight dog.
At plus 105. Virginia Tech plus 125 and La Tech plus 395. That'll net you a cool 42.5 to 1 odds on a 4-teamer. I mean, sounds good to me. Sounds good.
The K-State, pitfall. If I'm right about that, that's going to be a big one to get through. And then the La Tech, I don't know how they're catching, 14 points against SMU. I mean, I know SMU's made some upgrades, but that's going to be a good game, I think. I think La Tech's a live dog in that one. Yeah, 42.5 to 1, $10 pays you $425, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, that sounds really, really spicy. There you go. Army minus 33 against UConn, K-State money line, Vatech plus 125 money line, La Tech money line plus 395. We'll net you 42.5 to 1. Normally it's like a 9 to 10 to 1 odds on a 4-teamer. Bo, where can we find you on social media?
You can find us at FGH Vegas on Twitter. Remember, Super Contest lines coming out before noon kickoff. You can find us at thefootballgloryhole.com, and you can find our podcast, The Football Glory Hole Podcast, anywhere. And I mean anywhere you find podcasts.
All right, I'm RJ Choppy. You catch me Monday through Friday on 105 through the Fan. Sean Sharif, myself, 5:30 to 10, along with Troy Hughes, and at RJ Choppy on the Twitter thing. Plus, Saturdays from 11 to 3 on the BetQL network on the Odyssey app. So check me out, please, myself and Ari Temkin. That'll do it for us here on the Football 401k. Till next week, let's win some cash, boys and girls.